Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I'll be continuing on with the FreeBSD mail server. Thank you for everyone who's subscribed and liked the videos so far. It's much appreciated. Please continue to do so. I did attempt to do this yesterday. I'm just going to preface this now. But I had issues with my my audio interface and my audio was absolutely horrific. So I'm doing this again. Got a new audio interface for anyone who's interested. It's a Go XLR, and I'm using a lav mic today until my pod mic turns up. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. So, as always, we're going to jump into our terminal and move swiftly along. So, the first thing we want to do is get the MySQL or MySQL server up and running, whichever way you want to name it. That's up to you. So here we go. We're just doing a service MySQL server one start, which is just basically a false start because we haven't set it in the rc.conf configuration file. So next to that, we'll be doing a MySQL secure installation. Do that, but we do want to change the password. For now, no, we don't want to do that. Disallow root login remotely. Yeah, why not? It's always quite a secure reason to do that. And remove the test database. Reload privileges, and we're done. So let's move along. I'm just going to copy the default my.cnf. And then we're going to set it to auto start up. And then we're going to restart it. Excellent. Right, so once we've done that, let's get logged into the SQL server. Excellent. And let's create the database. Add the vscan. And add the vscan user with the password that we set in the previous video. We will then flush our privileges and quit out of that. Right, next we're going to just pull in some default SQL tables that is part of the Maya distribution. You will get an error here. Don't worry about it. We'll put in the vscan password. Let it do that. So don't worry about that error. It's just saying that there's an error on that line. We don't really worry about that too much. So there we go. That's that done. So let's move over to our Dovecot part. We'll just install Pigeonhole because that does all of our filtering for us and moves email around to certain folders and stuff like that. Very, very useful. So this will install Civ as well. Okay, so we'll set Dovecot to start automatically. And we'll just make a copy of the default Dovecot configuration files from the example configs. Once we've done that, we're going to start editing our Dovecot configuration. So let's move into that directory. There we go. So there's all of our configuration files. So the first one we're going to do is 10.auth. dash auth. Apologies. Okay. And we're going to just make a few changes here. We can change these later. This is just to get this up and running for now. Auth mech plain and login. And then we want to include the auth SQL and comment out the auth system conf. Yeah. Okay, so let's save that file and move on to the next one. So the next one is 10-mail. Now, there's a few changes in this. So the first one we want to set is the mailed location. So mail location. There it is. So we'll just pop our path there. So basically this is setting it to user local virtual %d %n. So %d is for domain name and %n is for username, as you can see up in the legend up the top there. So %d domain part in user at domain, empty if there's no domain. So there we go. And then for %n username. Excellent. Right, so namespace. Excellent, there it is. So inbox, make that private. And then we're just going to copy in a few other namespaces. For instance, sent, junk, trash, that kind of thing. And we just want to change the URL, the UID that is assigned. So first, valid. Go, and last. So we'll change that to 110 and 110. Likewise for the GID. And just add some plugins. So mail plugins, we want mail_log and notify. Okay, come out of that file. We want to change some lines in the 10-master. We want to change the Unix listener on the auth user DB. So here it is. I'm going to change that. So we'll uncomment the mode, which is 660. We'll change the group and we'll change the user. So the group is vscan. And so is the group. So next we want to just set up the SMTP auth. And it's right there. So uncomment the listener. Fastball postfix private auth is the correct location. Change the mode to 660. And we'll just add in the user and the group. I'll just uncomment closing bracket. Okay. Actually, one more thing. On that file, at the end of it, we just want to add in stat service. We don't need this particularly. I just like to have it just in case I find any stats out. Okay, so the next one is one of the most important. So this is where we start getting into, excuse me, into the security. So let's start editing our SSL configuration. So 10-ssl.conf. We want to enable, my belly's rumbling. We want to enable SSL. And we want to change the location of this. So it's always on FreeBSD user local. And we'll make these certificates in a little while. For the purposes of this tutorial, we will just use self-signed keys for now, but you can replace them with, with Let's Encrypt certificates if you wish. Even better would be Let's Encrypt wildcard certs. Although there is something to be said for one certificate for each domain name. Let's set up the DH param. That's in the correct location. And then we'll just check the minimum SSL protocol. So we've got TLS 1.2. That's what we want. We could set it even higher if we want, but then we possibly could get some rejected emails, which we don't want. Some older mail servers, Exchange mail servers in particular, use an older version of TLS, if they even use TLS. So next one is the LDA. We're just going to change a few bits in here, just a couple of lines, maybe 5. So we want to change the postmaster address. We want to change our host name. I like to always call it which MX it will be. And we want to change the path of send mail, because we're not using send mail, we're using postfix. So we just need to change this path. Postfix quite handily adds in a binary called sendmail just for compatibility with sendmail, which is a little bit ludicrous really when you put it that way. So LDA mailbox auto create, yes. And then the last one is the plugins. Sieve. So this will do our mail filtering, moving emails to and from folders when it comes in. Okay, so let's move on to the IMAP configuration. And this will be just one line, and that will be mail plugins. So we want to add mail plugins, quota, IMAP underscore quota, and zlib. Likewise for pop. Now on my production server, I don't run POP3 unless I absolutely have to, but we'll set it up just for completeness on here. All right, so let's get into the plugins. And we're going to add some stuff here rather than edit. So just below where it says setting name equals value, we're going to add 3 lines. Will be these ones. And then we'll just add a couple extra, which will be for Civ. There we go. So that's all we need in there. Okay. Normally I don't set up quotas. With disk space being, or disks being so cheap these days, especially high performance SSDs, quotas have kind of become a little bit redundant because it's just so cheap to buy storage these days. So you can set these options up as you like. I will probably go back through the configuration and remove quotas, but I'm just showing you how you would do it. Anyway, let's get back with it. So here we go. Here's the quota file, and we'll just change a few bits. So we want to find the service. Service quota warning. We want to just uncomment most of these because we'll be using them. So the script, user local bin quota warning, it's correct. Dovecot, yeah, quota warning, and user is vscan, not vmail. Okay. At the end of the file, I'll just add in these. Like I said, I will probably take these out because I personally don't really like quotas. The amount of headaches that it can give. I've run out of space. Yes, you have, because you're an idiot and haven't deleted all that spam. Anyway, okay. So we'll just create the quota warning script, which will be that one there. Okay. And then we'll just change the permissions on it so it can actually be run. Right, next, let's make the directory where the email is actually stored. And let's just, while we're remembering, let's just make our default Civ a default Civ file. So this basically tells any incoming email that if it contains X spam flag in the headers, move it to the junk folder. So we'll just compile our Civ script, and then we will change the ownership and permissions on the user local virtual directory. All right, next we want to just move out of that directory into the normal Dovecot and just set up the SQL. So Dovecot SQL, and we're going to change this driver. MySQL. And then we're going to change the connect line. Then we find it. There it is. Okay, so our connect line will be there we go. And default password. The default password scheme will be MD5. Password query. And then we will just want to set the user query as well. There we go. Don't worry about not being able to see these. I will leave a list of all these changes in the comments at the end of the video. In the comments, in the description of the video. So that's that for that one. Let's edit the dovecot.conf to add in our protocols. So we want IMAP, POP3, and Civ. Go, and let's change the IMAP greeting. We don't really want to leave it at dovecot ready. We don't want people knowing the software. There's no reason for them to know it. Okay, so let's add the dovecot user to the vScan group and start creating our SSL keys. These will take a while, so let's make the directory and just cd into it. Cd is change directory. So to spare you from all of the jargon, output of the generation of the keys, I'll skip through it for you. Okay, so we'll come back in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. So that's finished, and we'll just carry on with what we were doing. And then we'll change the ownership as well, so that dovecot can actually read them. Okay, so let's move on to our postfix setup. So we're going to stop sendmail. I just find postfix so much easier and so much simpler to work with. So let's tell our startup configuration to disable all of the sendmail stuff. So the submit, the outbound, and the MSP queue, we want it all off, and we'll enable postfix while we're here. We'll also change some of the periodic stuff because we don't want any of the We'll also change some of the periodic stuff because we don't want any of the sendmail stuff to be sent to our postmaster email. We don't need it. So let's come out of there. That'll be a new file. Just create that and save it. Okay, let's create the certificates for postfix. move into that directory with a CD and generate our certificates. Again, these are all self-signed. So we'll change the permissions and change the group ownership. Okay, so this is where the in-depth stuff for postfix happens. So we'll just move into the directory for postfix. And we'll edit the main file first, which is main.cf. It is. So let's turn off soft bounce. Soft bounce no. And at the bottom of the file, we can add in the rest of our configuration. Again, I'm not going to go through each line because it will take a while. So I'll leave a list in the description of the video. Just change our host name. Come out of there. We're going to change some stuff in the master CF. So submission. We'll just uncomment that. And we'll uncomment SMTPD, SASL, auth enable yes. And auth, and SMTP TLS auth only. We'll also uncomment SMTPD sender restrictions. That one. And we'll change it. Actually. And we'll just add in our other 3 bits that we want. There we go. So then we'll go SMTPS and uncomment that. And we'll uncomment wrapper mode yes and SASL auth enable yes. And we'll add in our other 3 to match the submission ones. And at the bottom, we just want to add in a bit for dovecot. There we go. Come out of that one. And this is where we start to create our files for MySQL connection. So there's the first one. Change the password to whatever you set it. Just allows postfix to actually look stuff up in the database. Again, don't forget to change your password. There's a lot that goes into setting up a mail server. As I said in my previous video, it is very involved. But this is by far the simplest and most robust one I've found that incorporates spam scanning, virus scanning, DKIM, SPF, DMARC. The last one. And Let's change the permissions of those so nobody else can read them. And change the owner. So we'll just edit the system aliases so that anything that goes to root goes to the postmaster. That's fine. We're not worried about that because that's a sendmail issue. Okay, and I think for this part of the video, we'll leave it there. In part 3, we'll run through setting up Nginx, however you want to say it. Nginx, I think, is the right way, and PHP, and get that running and set up. We covered how to set up Nginx and PHP in a previous video, but it's kind of an extension of that. So we'll get that set up and running. This will allow us to log into my MailGuard web interface and set some stuff up. It'll also allow us to use Postfix admin so that we can set up an account. And then we'll just go from there, really. So yeah, next time we'll go through that. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you're finding it useful and interesting. If you are, give it a thumbs up and a like. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.